This is the TNA Wrestling October 17, 2024 full show results video which takes place at Nashville, Tennessee at Skyway Studios. TNA paid tribute to Joe Koff with a graphic and wrestling battle, also sends condolences to Koff's friends, family and fans. The show started with a pick your poison match between PCO versus Rhino. Matt Cardona picked Rhino to face PCO. They traded punches at the start, then brawled on the floor and the ramp. Back in the ring, PCO hit Rhino with a metal trash can and PCO chokeslammed Rhino onto the trash can. Rhino hit PCO with a trash can as he dived to the outside and scored a 2 count. Rhino powerbombed PCO onto 2 chairs for a 2 count, then brought a table into the ring. PCO sidestepped Rhino, who crashed into a table in the corner and hit the PCO salt, and defeated Rhino by pinfall. Gia Miller interviewed TNA World Champion Nic Nemeth, and he talked about facing Matt Cardona tonight and Joe Hendry at Bound for Glory, and also said he is a fighting champion and dreamed about nights like tonight. He said that Santino Marella wouldn't let him put the title on the line tonight because it might compromise the main event at Bound for Glory, and he couldn't wait to knock that look off Cardona's face tonight. Ariana Grace walked to the stage and she introduced one of her best friends from NXT, Brinley Reese. The concierge took the mic, insulted Johnny Cash and the audience, and brought out Ash by Elegance. Then we saw a match between Ash by Elegance versus Brinley Reese. Rewolt said that Ash sent Heather Reckless to Florida to complete her makeover and Ash attacked Brinley at the start. The concierge applied Ash's lipstick to her and Brinley made a comeback. Brinley worked on Ash's arm and they took turns posing and doing jumping jacks and push-ups. Ash gave Brinley a series of punches and put Brinley in a chinlock, and Brinley came back on Ash and got the crowd into it. Brinley scored a 2 count after a clothesline. Brinley did squats while holding Ash, and the concierge caused a distraction, leading to Ash hitting the rarefied air, and defeated Brinley Reese by pinfall. Post-match, the concierge said they would have a makeover party next week, and Ash smeared lipstick over Brinley while the concierge held her, but Zaya Brookside ran in for the save. Then we saw a Rosemary and Chu video, and Rosemary said they hate to lose. They knocked on a door and Jody Threat opened a door, but there was no one there. She walked down the hallway and the camera showed that Rosemary and Chu were in the room. The next match happened between Speedball Mike Bailey versus Leon Slater for the X Division Championship. They shook hands at the start as fans chanted TNA. Both wrestlers traded moves early and the action went to the floor and Bailey threw Slater into the post. Slater dropped Bailey with a running kick and Bailey came back with kicks of his own. Slater went for a move, but his shoulder was still hurt and they exchanged kicks and were both on the mat. Bailey worked on Slater's shoulder and Slater caught Bailey with a crossbody block over the top rope to the floor. Bailey made a comeback and Slater did a standing Ultima Weapon on Bailey and they fought on the floor again. Bailey caught Slater with a moonsault from the top rope to the floor and Slater gave Bailey a blue thunder bomb for a 2 count. Bailey gave Slater a backstabber and Slater countered with a leg lariat and a dropkick that knocked Bailey out of the ring. Slater followed with his dive over the ring post to the floor on Bailey and Bailey kicked Slater while he was on the top rope. Slater suplexed Bailey and Slater missed a spulsion. Bailey applied a crossface submission, but Slater got out. Bailey landed a series of kicks and the Ultima Weapon and Bailey gave Slater a move similar to the One-Winged Angel and defeated Leon Slater by pinfall to retain the X Division Championship. After the match, it was announced that former AAA Mega Champion Hijo del Vikingo will challenge for the TNA X Division title at Bound for Glory. Video promoting the Hardys versus The System versus ABC feud and their match at Bound for Glory. ABC and Hardys backstage promo, and ABC talked about how they admired the Hardys and were fans as kids. Ace Austin said they could turn that off when it was time to get in the ring, and the Hardys said they were fans of ABC and they had a new level of respect after facing them last week. Matt said they had to be a well-oiled machine next week when facing The System, and he said may the best team win at BFG. Jeff said this may be their last tables, ladders, and then corrected himself and said Full Metal Mayhem match. Matt vowed to win the title and Ace said they took the torch from the Motor City Machine Guns, now they would have to do it again, and they wished each other luck. Steve Maclin walked to the ring for a promo and he talked about Eric Young being taken out last week by the Northern Armory and there was nothing he could do about it, and called out Josh Alexander, who walked to the stage with Saint and Sinner. Alexander called Maclin a self-serving scumbag and doubted that he was a righteous hero, and he talked about being the foundation of TNA and keeping the doors open so that people who had been fired like Maclin would have a place to work. He said the fans weren't worth it and they turned their backs on him and called Maclin a failure. Maclin said that Alexander was the first person in the locker room to tell him he wasn't an outsider and he wasn't a failure. He said that Alexander told him he was homegrown and the Northern Armory got on the apron. Maclin tried to go after them but was overwhelmed and they zip-tied Maclin's hands. Alexander slapped Maclin and Maclin spit at Alexander. Alexander gave Maclin a C4 spike and Alexander stood on Maclin's face, then his team walked off. Ariana Grace and Santino Marella stood with the tumbler that held the balls for the Collier Shot Gauntlet match at Bound for Glory. Frankie Kazarian interrupted and told Santino to make sure he was in the Gauntlet match and said he was working on a plan to be involved in the world title match at BFG and also said that Ariana's crown was stupid and walked off. Then we were ready to see a match between Mike Santana versus Brian Myers. Santana hit Myers with the chain before the bell rang and Santana fought Eddie Edwards and Dango. Santana gave Myers the spin the block and Santana got on the mic and called Moose to the ring and he said he would go to the back and find Moose. A camera followed Santana backstage and Moose knocked out Santana with a bat from behind and told him to be careful of what he wishes for, so the match didn't started. Matthew Rehwoldt had a sit-down segment with Jordynne Grace and Masha Slamovich and Rehwoldt said that Grace requested the time. Grace wanted an explanation for last week and why Masha brought out her picture that was crossed out and Masha asked how she was supposed to tell Grace that she wanted to challenge her after standing by as a loyal friend. Grace blamed Masha for going to the tag team division and sharing the spotlight with wrestlers that were beneath her. Masha talked about Grace being in her corner for Bloodsport against Shayna Baszler and Grace said that she beat Masha after everyone thought she would be the new face of the Knockouts division. She said they both think about that and Grace said that every time she had an open challenge, she was relieved that it wasn't Masha because Masha pushes her to the limit. Masha said she's been watching Grace destroy everyone and it made her want it more and asked Grace how it would feel when she did hear her music play. Grace said she had to beat Masha and Masha would lose again like 2 years ago. Masha said she loves Grace, but the title is coming to her no matter what and Masha walked off. Hannafan hyped up Bound for Glory but was interrupted by Frankie Kazarian, who walked to ringside and joined the commentary team. In the main event of the show, we saw an Pick Your Poison match between Nic Nemeth versus Matt Cardona. PCO picked Nemeth to face Cardona. As mentioned earlier, this was a non-title match. Nemeth got the upper hand and dropped a series of elbows on Cardona and Cardona booted Nemeth in the face and followed with a series of punches. Cardona threw Nemeth out of the ring and drop-kicked Nemeth to the floor. Cardona went for a piledriver on the floor, but Nemeth backdropped him and Cardona knocked Nemeth off the apron and into the steps. Cardona and Nemeth fought on the top rope and Nemeth gave Cardona a DDT and Cardona gave Nemeth a DDT for a 2 count. Nemeth super kicked Cardona and Cardona kicked Nemeth low, but the referee didn't see it. This brought out PCO, who fought through the security and Nemeth used the distraction to get the danger zone and defeated Matt Cardona by pinfall. PCO picked up Cardona and carried him to the back and Frankie Kazarian attacked Nemeth from behind. Joe Hendry ran in for the save and Nemeth and Hendry teamed up to take out Frankie. Fans chanted "We believe." Frankie got on the mic and pulled a referee's shirt out of his pants and he said he would be the special referee for the world title match at Bound for Glory and the show goes off the air.